Hello watch lovers, you know what time it is. Welcome to episode 5 of That Watch Guy London. If only we had a crystal ball. Today I'm going to talk about my top 10 classic watches that I have traded and seen the prices skyrocket. Joining me today is one of my team at BQ Watches, Janilda, or we call her Hilda. Hilda, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do?
First of all, hi everyone. It's good to be in your YouTube channel, Spencer. My name is Hilda, however you want to say it. I mean, it's fine. It's me. So I've worked for you, Spencer. It's been 4 years now.
Wow, time flies, eh?
Yeah, it does. And I'm in sales department, but also in the buying department. Every morning we need to see what's coming, the watches, and it's so interesting every morning to see what's the best.
So you have the pleasure of the unboxing.
Yeah, that's always a different challenge. I mean, sometimes we would get nice watches. Sometimes we get watches that are not worth even looking at. And Spencer always wants to see the one that he's interested in. The other ones he leaves me to deal with.
So Hilda, I mean, one of your great assets when we get all of people from different parts of Europe, how many languages you speak again?
Right, yeah, I can speak 5 languages, and during the years I've been seeing different customers, especially when we used to do the shows. There were a lot of...
This was the NEC, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was a lot of foreign customers, and it used to be very nice to see them and speak with them in different languages.
Sure. And you would predict sometimes you'd hear someone speaking and go over if they spoke Albanian or Italian.
Yeah, immediately
and this
I can recognize.
Makes them relax and they feel a lot better in their own language.
Correct, yeah.
So Hilda, today, I mean, you've seen the beautiful things that we see, Daytonas, Datejust, Pepsis, all of these things. So we're going to go back for the viewers today over my top 10 of things that, I mean, we probably traded over 60,000 watches over the last 15 years. So there's been some beautiful pieces and we just buy them, we price them, we sell them, we try and be competitive. These are, say, my top 10 of things that if only I had today. I mean, often, you know, customers say, oh, should I sell it? I want to keep it. But these are things that I've sold. And whether it was a mistake,
you can't have them back, can you?
Can't buy them back. I'd love to buy them back, but
it's too late.
Absolutely, we're going to go over the last it's about a 10-15 year period of things that I've sold that I've got pictures of here that we can show the viewers of what we've had. To number 10. This was the GMT Master, the Pepsi. This was a 66 piece. I bought this in 2013. I mean, at the time, you know now of some of these older pieces are 10, 15, 20,000. This I bought back in, it was 2013 for £2,000.
Yeah, I wasn't in the business at the time. And when everyone told me basically that you bought them for £2,000, I wouldn't believe it. I'm not going to lie.
But this wasn't a perfect watch. It looked like it had been through the wars a bit. I mean, we'll show the viewers some pictures of these. This was £2,000. And at the time, it was a great deal. We sold it for £3,500. I mean,
we thought we did great.
Yeah. At the time, we did. Now, I would say this watch is probably 15,000, 17,000 minimum. Yeah. And some are going between 30 and 60,000. But with this piece, and this is what I love on the older GMTs, this piece, I remember, this had the chronometer certificate. It had a very unusual bezel that were patinaed, and the dial. And again, for the viewers, the patina is where they're yellowing or aged and just don't look crisp. And this is the character of the older watches. They had, when you go back to a watch 30, 40, 50 years old, the character, you know, now people or someone who doesn't know would look at it and say, oh, the dial's a bit dirty, it's old, oh, it needs a service. Can we polish it? Can we polish it? And this is it. With the older pieces, we do nothing with it. And people will always say, don't polish it, don't touch it.
Them.
And
it's
again, you've seen a number of the questions where people ask us that don't send it to Rolex. So Rolex would take out the dial, and I've many a times guided people, whatever you do, don't let Rolex go and change the dial.
Change the parts.
The watch will halve. The watch will halve or could be a quarter of the value.
Yeah.
A £30,000 watch can turn into a £10,000 watch, and they'll charge you £1,000 for the privilege of the service. And this is where, when people don't know what they're doing, it's a disaster.
Let's go on number 9 now. That's a Submariner 5513. What's so special about it, Spencer?
The 5513 was a non-date sub with a plastic glass. I mean, it ran for a long time, sort of early, I think it was about 62 to 89. It ran for 27 years. And there were lots of different variations of it, of different dials. But again, I've handled some amazing pieces of this model, and some with papers. I mean, back when I had this, I remember one in 2012 that was 1,800.
Is that what you paid for it?
We paid 18, and we doubled our money and got 37.50 at the time because it was a nice piece.
Nice profit. Yeah.
So that seemed like a great deal. I mean, now this model is sort of 10,000 up to 25,000. Depends on papers and the dial, and there's the gloss dial, the matte dial.
Right. One question for you. How important is with these watches to have papers? Is it a big deal? Or
in percentage terms, it adds. So it can be 10, 20%. I mean, some of these had what were called chronometer certificates, where they showed the timings of the machine, and that was different to the papers. That was quite special. Okay. But it all adds. But with these, the importance is a nice dial, an old-looking dial.
So would a collector buy a watch like this with no papers, you reckon?
I've always said, if the watch is beautiful, they would 100% buy it. But a collector wouldn't buy something, we use the term service dial. Okay. So if the watch was from the 70s and in 2000 went to Rolex, and if they didn't know, Rolex would say, the dial's a bit damaged, we're going to put a new dial in hands. And the customer, if they weren't in the know, would say, no problem. So Rolex would remove the old dial and keep it, put a new dial, which would be very white.
Right.
And then that's where, when we see a 70s watch that's got a service dial, and you can tell at the bottom where it says Swiss, there's different ways of knowing if the dial's been changed. Okay. And often when the dial's very clean, and that's exactly what we go on.
So as long as the parts are original, it's all fine?
Yes, but we want the old dials. We want the dial that was born with the watch to stay with the watch. When the dial gets changed is where it's no good.
Let's go to number 8 though. That's a pre-Daytona 6238. How much are they going for, Spencer?
This watch now, so this was the pre-Daytona, so this had a very plain bezel. Mm-hmm. Again, I go back to one that was about £1,000 in 2015, and we sold for 2,500. This watch now is 15 to 80,000 pounds.
They can go up to 80.
80. Again,
you love that piece, don't you?
Yeah. If it had, I love all the Daytonas. I mean, the pre-Daytona didn't have screw-down buttons. But going back in the 60s, 70s, it wasn't uncommon for a watch to be dated with a serial number of, say, 62, and it didn't sell till 60.
They didn't sell as quick as nowadays.
No, it could sit there for 3 years because people didn't
know the value of it.
But they weren't popular. A chronograph back in those days, it was not popular. People then had the more dress watch, the Datejust, it wasn't. People weren't it's not like...
It wasn't fashion, let's say.
No, it wasn't, absolutely.
Okay. Let's go to the next one. That's a GMT Master Sea King. They only wear 123 pieces.
This is I love this watch when we got it. Do you know anything about this piece?
No, Spencer, nothing.
No. If we look there, and the viewers will see, so on the front, it's exactly the same as
That's what I thought, yeah.
There's nothing on the front, nothing whatsoever that's different. You've just got the 116710 LN, so exactly the same black dial with the green writing, the GMT. But when you turn it on its back, it's got some special engraving, and it's the Sea King helicopter. There was 123 pieces made. It had on the back, "Fear God, honour the King." I've no idea what this is, but the engraving was beautiful and really sought after piece.
Really
I mean, at the time when I had it, it wasn't an easy watch to sell. I think I paid about 7,500 back in January
So
2014.
at the time, you didn't have a lot of customer asking for it. What
No,
about today?
no one knew what it was. But we used
Yeah.
to do some exhibitions. We didn't use the internet that much, but people would come to see us. And I remember it took a while, but we got 12,500.
Okay.
This watch now is 35,000, but there's very few about. You
Very
you
few
won't
of them.
see this, but
I've
it was
never
very
seen it.
very
I've never
rare,
seen it.
very rare.
Right, Spencer. So number 6 on the list is a Daytona 6263. What's special about
Ilda,
that?
this is probably one of my favourites of all times. We've handled quite a few of these pieces. So this 6263, this was without screw down pushers. So on the chronograph, they would just have normal
Right.
pushers. They weren't waterproof. And this piece, I think we paid about £3,000 for this and sold it for £7,000 about 8 years ago in January 2013. This was with the Paul Newman dial. So the Paul Newman dial was where it goes 15, 30, 45, 60. The regular dial went 0, 20, 40, 60.
I remember when I first started, you always used to tell me, if you see a Paul Newman, call me no matter where I am. I remember
But
that.
that's it. As you know, if we get a call about that, whoever I'm serving, that's the call I
You're
take.
just going to
That's
leave
the
them.
one.
Yeah.
But this had the Bakelite dial. The one you'll see in the picture there, that's the black dial with the white sub-dials with the Paul Newman. This is the same watch. See where it has the 20, 40, 60? On this on the 6263, if we had one today, what do you think we'd have to pay as a starting price for this
Right.
piece?
I'm going to say that they're going for 50,000 to 80,000. Is that enough? More than
Your
that?
starting's okay,
Yeah.
but you'd have to be a bit more flexible.
Really, more than 80?
If it could be anything up to 150 on something like that piece.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the other thing, what we must remember, all of our older pieces, as we're getting older, the pieces are getting older. So things 10 years ago that were 40 years are now 50 years. So a lot of them are disappearing. So
Then we
things
should
are rarer.
think about keeping some of the pieces we've got now.
Moving forward.
And hopefully, if I'm going to work for you in 20 years, who knows?
But this is where I often say, it upsets me to sell things. I like buying, but get upset sometimes
To
selling
sell them. Yes,
them.
of course. Right, number 5 in the list is the Double Red.
So the Double Red, the reason being it says Sea Dweller Submariner, 2 lines of red. It was also referred to as the Great White, where they had it in white writing.
They started to do it in white, yes, you've told me.
But here you can see the older dials. See how yellow and patinaed that's gone. This is what people are looking for. And if you see on the older dials, the newer ones have white gold round the luminous dots.
Yeah.
And the older ones were just dots. And that's what people love. They love those. But I love both these pieces. I mean, you got Double Red there, and the same reference was the Great White. Again, 2014, I remember buying this in the region of 10,000, selling for 13. None of these were crazy, easy things to sell.
Yeah.
Because people wanted newer watches. Not everyone understood.
But to think about it, in 2014, you paid 10,000 for it. So they were popular at the time already, you reckon? Or
They were They didn't sell easily.
they
I mean,
didn't sell easily?
10,000, if we go back 8 years, that was a lot of money.
It was, yes.
Yeah.
Do you think that's because people, they were not into watches that much, or because collectors, they started collecting later on, basically?
I think there were fewer. Nowadays, everyone's learnt a lot more about watches.
I agree, yeah.
And everyone knows, what's going to be discontinued. They know it's going up.
They're actually waiting for it
They're
to
waiting.
be...
Everyone's anticipating the discontinued
I had
model.
a customer in the office the other day telling me, I think this is going to be discontinued. I think it is. I'm like, I don't know. I don't work for Rolex, but...
But this is what we get now. Like you said, so many customers tell us, I think they've all got opinions now,
They
which is
have their
great.
own-
And everyone's thinking that the OPs are going to be a short run and discontinued. And that's the excitement. Everyone's trying to preempt the next discontinuation, because what happens when it's discontinued?
They jump up in prices.
Simple
We
as
got
that.
calls every day about them. But Spencer, how much can I buy one Double Red for nowadays?
Double Red, you're going to pay 30 to 50,000.
Wow. Let's go to the next one. Number 4 is not a Rolex, it's a Patek Philippe Nautilus 3712.
Right. This was quite a rare piece. It's got quite a lot going on with the dial. You had a perpetual calendar there, also with a chronograph and a power reserve. So again, going back, these Pateks at times were difficult to sell, and you had to be very careful with the bracelets, because if you held them and squashed, the bracelets would get damaged. But this piece was 15,000, and I think we done very well in 2012 and sold for 22,000.
22. Okay, that's
And it was it was a lot of money. I mean,
That's
that's
good.
9 years ago. We were happy with that.
one of my customers. I remember it was a few weeks ago. He said, "I am so upset that I sold my Patek 10. I think it was 10 years ago. He sold it to someone. He said, if only I could go back. But again, you never know what piece is gonna get special or expensive. How much are they going for now, Spencer?
Now you're looking about this watch about 90,000.
90,000. Wow, that's.
I mean, the
That's-
Nautilus is just.
I mean, I love it. I love Patek Philippe. I'm not gonna lie, they're very nice. But at the same time, I would prefer a Rolex personally. I would buy one of the Rolexes vintage. Right, Spencer. Now we're going in the top 3. I think these 3 watches are your biggest regrets ever.
Absolutely.
Why did you sell them?
Thank you for reminding me. Thank you. So what's our number 3, Hilda?
That's a Rolex 5514. I believe it's a Comex, but please don't kill me. What's a Comex?
Well, the Comex was a French diving company
Right.
who worked with Rolex, and they produced certain watches that were just for the divers. So
Okay.
again, you couldn't go into a store and buy them. And some of the ones I bought over time, some of the earlier Comexes, again, like the Sea King, had nothing on the dial. They just used to have Comex on the back and the diver's number. And the diver would have a log of his dives.
Okay.
And they were used by
So
in
it's specific
collaboration
for him. Okay.
And this again, the 5514 was a watch that was only produced for Comex.
Okay.
And this is one here where you've got the markings on the dial.
You know what, Spencer? I've got a feeling that these watches, they were made for specific people or doing specific jobs.
You had to be a diver.
Exactly. And I feel like they're so special because everyone wants what they can't have, something like that.
You're absolutely right. Well, with it, you, like I say, you couldn't go and buy it, so you had to get it from someone who was a diver, and they had their diver logs, and then
course.
eventually they'd say, "Oh, maybe I might sell my watch," and it would be a situation where they would talk and say, "Oh, my friend sold his for 15,000. I was thinking of 15, 18." I mean, these
That's
now
how it
they
starts,
they
yeah.
name their price, so. It's just grown because there's a limited amount. They
Yeah.
weren't produced. They only had the divers. And the more information the diver had with the watch, the greater the value of the watch.
Of course. So how much did you pay for a Comex, let's say
I
10
had
years
a,
ago?
I had a Comex. I think it was longer than that. I think it was about 08.
Okay.
And I'd paid about 8,000 at the time.
Okay.
I think we had it for a while, and it didn't have everything, but it was a good watch with a nice dial, and got 12,000 at the
12.
time.
Okay. How much are they selling for nowadays?
Nowadays, you could go anywhere from 50 to 120,000. But it's one that you might see one on tomorrow for 130. It's a very unusual and specific watch.
This is a watch, Spencer, that you would definitely show to one of our dearest customers in Italy, no?
The Italians love them.
Italian, yeah.
They love
The
those,
Italian
the
guy.
Comex.
Okay.
And it came from France, but everyone, it's a real, to have a Comex in your collection was something
It's just
very
something
yeah.
something nice. So number 2 in your list is Submariner 5508. I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't look great. What's
Let
so
me
special?
tell you, this is an amazing piece. I had one of these back in about 06, 08. Used to go abroad sometimes and do trips where we do buying trips.
Okay.
And I remember personally sitting with someone and buying this watch. And I think I paid about 5,000, 5,500. And the watch was a new, unpolished. It was like new old stock. So at the time, that was over 50 years old.
Okay.
And when you looked on the bezel, you could see the bezel was so sharp on the one that I had. It was incredible. I think I sold
Lovely
that for about
condition.
£9,000. This piece now you're talking 20 to 50,000. So this was the original James Bond. It came out in 52, 53. I think, I will check up on this, a few of them were using James Bond films, Dr. No. And the other thing, do you know?
Oh, yeah, Sean Connery, I think. No?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you notice anything unusual on the watch that jumps out?
You're always testing me, Spencer. I can. There's no shoulder guards. Is that
very
correct?
good, very good. I'm glad that some of what I show you sticks with you. So this watch was used in the James Bond films, and it was just an incredible piece. It really was. And I just remember it from early days, and having that, it was just, I wish I still had this today.
But if you had it, would you sell it?
Now I wouldn't.
You wouldn't.
Now I wouldn't. This,
Okay.
Without question.
So there we go, guys. We're number 1. Can you guess which watch is it? Of course, it's a Daytona, but what's the model, Spencer?
This, without question, is one of my favourite watches. The 16520, the Zenith Daytona, with the porcelain dial. So the porcelain was a special dial. It was crisp white.
Okay.
And it's just an incredible piece. Don't get me wrong, the blacks with the patina, but this piece, the porcelain, and this was something very special. It had the floating dial. So what we mean by that, it said Rolex Oyster Perpetual, officially certified chronometer. And then there was a gap, and the viewers will see on the screen there, where Cosmograph was detached. I mean, I've still got one of those in bimetal that we have in stock in the Zenith. But on the white, and this was sort of something that was very rare, and whether it was a fault in the printing press or someone made a mistake, it wasn't run for very long, but the floating where the Cosmograph is detached. But this, without question, I mean, back in when I had this in about 2010, and again, all the Daytonas then were selling for similar money. 2010, the Zenith was up until 98, 99. I got my first Daytona in 2003. And I remember at the time, I think I bought it from Fraser Hart in Brent Cross, and it was about £3,300, which was a fortune in 2003. At this time, about 2010, Daytona was a 7,000, 8,000. 10,000 was a magical number and seemed a lot of money. So this at the time paid £8,000 and it sold for 10,750. And at the time, when the new models come out, and a bit like we've got with the subs, they were running in parallel. People were a bit unsure. I like the new one. I like the bracelet.
It's what happens.
We are with the subs now.
Correct. Yes, with the 41, the 40. Some people, they prefer the biggest one. These number 1 regrets, Spencer, how much are they going for?
Okay. Now you're probably looking 70 to 170,000.
They can go up to 170,000. Wow.
But that's where I think going up to 2010, and now everyone's realised how much things have gone up, and that's why everyone wants to have a Rolex and hope that everything will follow like it has done.
It feels a little bit like they hope that there's going to be a mistake on the watch, so
Correct.
then it turns to something special, isn't it?
Correct. But that's why everyone likes to have a range and looks exactly like you say. A mistake or something unusual.
Even the inverted 6, you told me about that.
Yeah. The inverted
Even
6 on the Daytona.
It was a mistake, but...
Yeah, we're like on the Kermits, we've got, the anniversary sub, the flat 4. Some people call it the flat 4, the fat 4, where it's slightly wider, and all of these things.
Wow, guys, that was really interesting. Spencer, you had them all, you've sold them. Maybe you have regrets, but you know what? We need to go on and just buy more watches.
We need to buy them all again. So viewers, that's what we're looking for. You've seen the top 10 of what I'd love to buy again.
Also, Spencer, this week we had a lot of questions from our followers. Sorry, guys, I'm going to probably mispronounce your names, but they always do it to me, so it's fine, we're fair. So Sam is asking, Spencer, what's the long-term value on an OP, specifically the Tiffany one?
Well, we've seen, Hilda, you've seen with these, crazy watches. Everyone's talking there'll be a short production. I think the shorter the production, the more they'll go up if they don't run for very long. and they might only run for a year or two. But we're now seeing the 41 it's 10, 11,000 pounds, and there's none about. And the reds and the green, we've seen this.
Yeah, you had a lot of customers asking for them, and you would shout out in the office, I need a red, I need a yellow, I need a green. Yeah, we've been a lot of requests.
But as you know, if this is discontinued, wow, they're gonna
go up and up.
Yeah.
Second one is Ricky D884. Is it a good time to buy an Explorer with rumors of it being discontinued?
With this, I'm not sure what Explorer, whether it's the 1 or the 2, but of late we've been inundated with the 16570, the older Explorer 2, and also the 216570. Everyone seems to be chasing the white dials nowadays.
Yeah, they want the polar one. Yeah,
Sure. These were watches that weren't that popular. They were nowhere near the Submariners, and now all of they're these they're getting very popular.
Yeah.
So Ricky, if you think this watch will be discontinued, it 100% would be a good thing to buy and to keep.
Spencer, we've got a very, very interesting question. Does Spencer have a 6-pack? Candy is asking. Guys, he doesn't. I'm sorry. What can we do?
The only 6-pack I've got is a 6-pack of Cokes or beers.
Next question is from Artisan Creation. Which Rolex watch do you trade the most?
That's an interesting one. It's interesting. I mean,
I should answer it because
I
sell the watches, I buy them. So
where would you?
I believe I want to say the Submariner, but at the same time, they just they're watches that we keep selling and
the 36, the 41s.
Yeah. What would you say?
I think you're right. I think it's the Datejust and the Submariners, but a bit of everything. I mean, everything's moving. You know what else is very popular? Our older Datejust.
Yeah.
The pre.
But you said I'm right, so let's leave it with that. Thank you. Next one is British Watch Guy, not that Watch Guy London, that's Spencer. Do you have a lot of demand for the Omega Quaterra? Is Elon Musk's daily watch?
Okay, you know who Elon?
Yeah, the Tesla guy.
Correct. Look, all the Omegas, as soon as we get them, they go. Certainly the Speedmasters, the Seamasters, not so much on the Constellations.
Yeah, no. And the Aquaterra, it is popular, but I feel like Seamasters and Speedmaster
Seamaster and Seamaster,
most
absolutely.
sold Omegas, yes. Question for Ilda. Do you think Spencer beat Paul Thorpe in Unarmed Western?
So what do you think, Hilda?
That's quite a funny one. I'm going to say Spencer because he's my boss.
So, Paul, that's for next time, okay? When we meet up, we got to do an arm wrestle.
Next one is from Maximum Queen. Again, questions on the Explorer 2 white face. What do we think about that?
So they're referring to the 42 mils. So that's the 2-1. Well, I mean, you've seen, we're doing, whenever we get them in, they're selling on
We're doing well on that, yeah. And we always buy them, so if you have any, just give us a call. Distant Rooster. These names are weirder than mine, actually. Do you think the Sky Dweller will be discontinued or upgraded? That's an interesting question. And we've been selling a lot of Sky Dwellers recently.
I think with this, they brought out the rubber, haven't they? The Oyster Flex, the leather ones. I think it would certainly be something, it'll be enhanced. I think they'll change something with the dial or the hands. I do think it will be.
They will, yeah.
They will tweak it a little bit, possibly this year. We don't know whether it'll be this year or next year, but I think that could well be coming.
Next question is Sasha. What do you think about the Milgauss Blue and compared to the new OP turquoise?
That's an interesting.
They're quite different watches, aren't they?
They're different. I think the Milgauss Blue and the black, the two Milgausses with the green glass, I think they're great, really unique watches. And the Oyster Perpetual, the new ones with the blue, it's sort of a direction they've gone in. I think we'll see some other colours. That's what.
Can I say what I think? I think the Milgauss is for older customers and the OP is for younger.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Yeah.
Next question we've got. USAA USA dealers often have direct stock from ADs. Does this happen in Britain?
Well, it doesn't happen with us. We don't exist to the ADs, do we? I mean, look, we have relationships with ADs, but not as far as stock is concerned. We'll get their part exchanges.
Yeah.
But no, we wouldn't get stock.
That is not the same, yeah. Candy again. Is Spencer the one singing on his YouTube video intro? I hope not. I hope not.
Absolutely not. No, we leave the professionals to do that.
Thank you guys for all the questions. Please keep them coming on our YouTube channel, on Instagram and Facebook. We would love to come back to you, and please call us to sell and buy watches. Thank you.
Right, Hilda, I have a question like this for everyone. So if you could have any watch you like, what is your holy grail watch? What would be the piece if I took you into a Rolex store and they had stock, which they don't? So let's go back.
Let's
go to BQ watches. So if I took you into our vault, what would be a watch that you would love to have?
I always change my mind, but at the moment I fall in love with the Daytona, the bimetal one, mother of pearl with diamonds. I love that one.
Yes, the white one. Beautiful.
We had it in today, and I was just amazed.
All right, we'll let you try it on or something.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
Maybe if you're here in 10 years, we'll see what we can do and try.
Oh, that's a long time.
No, it's not that long. You've gone 4 already.
Oh, but they're gonna go up in price.
Okay,
so,
but hang on, it doesn't matter. I've said if you could have, not if you could buy. If you could have. Right then, episode 5 done and dusted. As you can see, if only we all had a crystal ball, we would know better than to trade things on for a little profit. But actually, that's what we do. Thank you to everyone who sent in questions. I especially like the one about the non-existent six-pack. And for the record, I could definitely take Paul Thorpe in an arm wrestle. There you go, challenge laid down, Paul. Hilda, ladies love to have the last word, so over to you.
Guys, don't forget to subscribe our channel. Thank you for being with us, and I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully I'm gonna be in the next one too. And guys, don't forget to hit whatever buttons you're supposed to, like, subscribe, leave a comment, just letting us know how we're doing. And remember, if you haven't dealt with us, it's only a matter of time. See you next week. Bye.